Everyone, welcome back. You are here with another episode with Deep Threat Sports Network. We are looking forward to doing this episode. On tonight's episode for you, we have our conference winners, our playoff teams. Going to do a little bit of an AP conversation, get into that a little bit, and talk about those as well. And then we are going to do some camp news. What's going around? What are we hearing at all these teams' camps right now? What does it look like for those teams? Any late-breaking news? And then, like I said, conference winners and playoff 12. Fellas, we are really close to the college football season, and we are looking at it next week. I mean, week 0 is here. At this point, I can officially say I feel like it is college football season. I don't know how you guys are feeling. The weather still sucks. It's still really hot, but we're going to deal with that for a little bit longer. That is a topic on every episode we talk about because we're all so miserable. So that will be a thing moving forward still. But Bryant, Nolan, fellas, how we feeling? Are the juices flowing?
Doing good. Excited to watch football.
Oh man, it's right here, Brian.
There's a big time high school game on tonight on ESPN. I tuned into it a little bit before we hopped on the show down in Georgia, so that got the juices flowing. But yeah, definitely, I'm looking forward to week 0, even though it's not the biggest slate of games. It's still college football.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, there's still some really good games, and just so you guys know, next week, just because there's only a few games doesn't mean that we're not going to get in the studio here and preview those games that we have for you on week 0. That is what we're most excited about, and we are right around the corner. Also, when you do tune into this, whether you're watching it back and not live or live, either way, make sure you're like and subscribe and turn on the alerts so you get notified whenever we do go live. We have seen it pick up steam live here recently, which has been awesome. We get a lot of comments. Love the live comments. Love the questions. Love everybody tuning into that. Also, we have seen an uptick in streams after the live is over still, so that is awesome too. Just make sure it is college football season now for sure, so make sure you're telling everybody about what's going on, where to come get some winning bets, some locks, where to come get some late information on what's going on around college football and all of these teams. So, fellas, I think Nolan does have a question for us, and Nolan, if you're ready, man, go ahead and tip that thing off and get us going.
Yes, sir. So my question for this week, with college football coming so quickly, everybody's thinking about it. Little bit of deep thought for you for the upcoming seasons. We've seen some different changes recently, players now being paid. We've seen the rise of just passing offenses in general. Running backs are kind of less valuable. What is the next big change that you guys expect to see or hope to see in the upcoming future in college football?
I put a decent amount of thought into this, and honestly, it's hard to pick. It's kind of hard to envision. It was hard to envision the players getting paid. I think you could see the RB value going lower. You could see the writing on the wall there. But personally, I think you're going to see quarterbacks have more control over the offense. Like you see in the league, in the NFL, they can audible and do pretty much anything they want on the field. I feel like in college football, that's quite non-existent still. Like, you don't see the Peyton Manning type player out there. He can audible to whatever he wants. I think maybe you're going to see quarterbacks starting to get more control, especially the seasoned veterans, and be able to kind of carry the offense and play calling on their shoulders a little bit more than they do right now. That's something I think I see on the horizon that helps players prepare for the next level while also leaning on their experience to help their teams that season.
Yeah, I like that, Brian. That's a direction that I didn't really see coming. So that's a really intriguing answer. I really like the direction that mine honestly is not as intriguing as that. It's pretty bland, I guess you could say. This was a tough question, and I won't lie, because college football is always evolving. So when I think of these questions and what I want to see, obviously it's something along the lines of maybe we move to like a bargaining agreement for these college football players where there's some contract language in there where you can't see a guy like Williams Nwaneri, who signed with Mizzou 2 seasons ago coming out of high school and then takes 1 year, collects a check, and then bounces and moves to a different school. So you're just grabbing money and going. So I would like to see something like that. Put a foundation around these players. That way they can't just, like I said, collect money and bounce. Also, I don't know what the answer is, but I feel like there is a really significant playoff change coming up at some point in time. Obviously adding some more teams. I feel like that's going to be a big thing. That is a huge talking point among a lot of coaches out there. We see Eli Drinkwitz, who is a coach of Mizzou Tigers, who Bryant and I are a fan of. We see him campaigning pretty heavy out there to add a lot more teams. because he's trying to use a percentage based on other sports and how low the percentage is for getting all of these teams into the playoffs. And I also agree. But then to push back even on a coach that I'm a fan of and team I'm a fan of, that's why you kind of have the month of November, fellas. You got to win those games. At one point, we just had a 2-team national championship based off BCS rankings. And then we go to a 14 playoff, and now we're at a 12. I'll be honest, fellas, I don't hate the 12-team number. I think it's a pretty good number. And it would be pretty egregious of me to say that I feel like there's teams outside the top 12 every year that could go win a national championship. I'll be honest. But my one pushback that I think I would change, and this may be a really unpopular opinion, I don't always think there's a place for a G5 team to get an automatic bid. I don't think they have the best case to go win a national championship. And I think you see teams almost like an Alabama last year or a South Carolina or an Ole Miss, whoever you were campaigning for to get that 12 spot, and then you see a Boise State come in and get it over them to force them to take a spot. So I don't love that. So maybe we make that change. It is probably an unpopular opinion because then they have nothing to play for. But, hey, maybe we make a G5 national championship playoffs. I mean, that would be fun, right? I mean, that would get more views. You would have something more to play for, because I don't feel like a Liberty whoever you have making it this year really feels like they have a chance to go and bang with these Power 4 teams in a playoff format.
Mine kind of goes along with that on your G5 championship game. I don't know if I want to see it, but I think it's going to happen eventually. I think there's going to be 2 super conferences. It's all of the teams actually invested in football. They're pouring money, big money in football. Everybody else is just going to be left behind. That's where I think you can get let's get 50 teams that are serious about this, 60 teams that are real serious about it. The rest of the 60, you guys go play for your own championship. We'll play for ours. And let's really see who the biggest, best is if we have to play, and there's some rules associated with it, because if there's 2 super conferences, you have to play a certain amount of teams from the other conference. You have to play a certain amount of teams from within your conference, different things like that, where people are campaigning. Some of these schedules are honestly pretty easy for some of the big teams that we're looking at winning the national championship. Let's put everybody through the gauntlet every week. Let's see what happens.
On that note, what do you guys think about something like this, where to be playoff eligible, and I have read this somewhere, and I wish I remembered who it was so I could give them the credit, but I'm not necessarily completely aligned with them, but kind of a similar idea. What if we completely eliminate these Power 4 teams playing these lesser G5 teams? I don't want to watch Mizzou play Central Arkansas week 1. I'm going to, because I love Mizzou and because I love college football, and I'm going to watch an Alabama play Citadel one year because we love college football. But let's eliminate that, and then every Power 4 team to be eligible for the playoffs, go play Power 4 opponents only. Play 9-10 conference games, and then play 2 out-of-conference games from the Big 10, the Big 12, the ACC. Grab those opponents, and it's equal across the board if every team has to do that to be playoff eligible. That way we don't have cupcake games where, like we said, we're playing a Central Arkansas week 1. I get it. You kind of have a tune-up game, but a lot of these teams don't have that anymore. Credit to Texas and Ohio State, and credit to Notre Dame and LSU, because you see Notre Dame and Miami, I should say, have all these quarterback questions, and they come out week 1, and they're not going to get a week to cupcake it and figure out what they want to do. It's showtime, dude. Like, we're throwing you to the wolves game 1. It's time to go. And we see a quarterback battle in Notre Dame with Kenny Minchie and CJ Carr that they don't really know what they're going to do just yet. So I think we eliminate the G5 games. We get those out of here, and that would be huge for your viewership. Good Lord. I mean, could you imagine what the viewership would look like? I can't imagine a Mizzou Central Arkansas game has anywhere near the merit that a Mizzou, even a Mizzou, give me a team from a Mizzou West Virginia game week 1. So I think that should be a direction that they go, and to be playoff eligible, that should have to happen.
I agree with that standpoint. I think it drives exactly what college football, what the guys that aren't playing want to hear or want to see, is money coming in and bigger venues and bigger games and all that. But I think the pushback's going to be is a lot of these football schools that they play, little ones like the G5s, the Central Arkansas, those type of teams, the games that they play is literally their entire season is paid for by the teams they go play. So that's the only real pushback I think you're going to see from that standpoint. Maybe there's other avenues for that, but I don't know what that looks like as of yet. But I like that, Colin. I think that'd be fun. Definitely a boost of viewership and a lot more big games, a lot more eyeballs on the TV.
Don't you think that –
I think if you're going to try and schedule teams from the other conferences, say you're Mizzou, and you're forced to, if you're playoff eligible, or to be playoff eligible, I should say, you have to schedule an ACC team. You have to schedule a Big 10. You have to schedule a Big 12 school.
Yep.
I say give them the G5 game. I understand it's going to be a beatdown, but if you're really going to play more of these really good teams, you got to have another bye week in there. I know you get 2 of them, but you got to have another kind of rest up, tune up week that you can get some people healthy to go into the next week. Because not everybody's going to be able to play at the bottom of the ACC or the bottom of the SEC or the bottom of the Big 10. Name any conference. You got 2 schools that everybody wants to beat up on. Not every single team is going to be able to schedule those teams then. I think you're going to have more good games, which means you're probably going to need that G5 game somewhere in the season. I don't care where, but somewhere in the season. And like Bryant said, those fund the entire athletic budget for some schools for the entire year, not just football. I think you got to keep them in. Otherwise, we're going to start cutting football programs.
So don't you think that if all these schools know that they have TV package deals with CBS and ABC and ESPN and all these big networks, don't you think that these teams from the Power Four could put a fund together that still trickles down to these G5 schools, because their viewership goes up on all of these games. Their ticket sales go up on a Mizzou West Virginia game versus a Mizzou Central Arkansas. I think the money still to be made is more when you do this, and you could trickle it down to still filter into these G5 schools. Also, my only pushback with having to play them for an extra bye week, I don't think you're wrong, but the ultimate goal for all these guys is to go play professional football. You're going to play a lot more games, a lot tougher schedule with only 2 bye weeks in NFL as well, and that should be your ultimate goal. So, I get it, but at some point, like, we have to say, all right, fellas, well, you want to go play at the next level, and you're playing the best of the best. You're no longer playing this 90% of the time. You're not playing G5 talent in the NFL, so you don't have that to rely on. I mean, you're practicing every day. This is now your job. So you also can make all this money in college football now as a player. It's kind of what you're supposed to do. So I'm not saying that's right, but that's just the kind of the way I look at it. So I would love to see a change like that. And maybe there's probably a fine line to meet somewhere in the middle of, your guys' stance and what I'm saying. There's probably definitely a meet in the middle point that would benefit everybody. So I like that question, Nolan, and tie this right into kind of some camp news that we have going on, some late news and some updates on some of these teams. We talked about it right there a second ago. Notre Dame still having a serious quarterback battle down the stretch here as we close in on their first game of the season. Kenny Minchie, I've been reading and hearing, is looking like he has the edge over CJ Carr. That is not something that a lot of us thought was going to happen. I don't know how you fellas feel about that. I don't know if maybe it's Kenny Minchie because maybe the quarterback battle is extremely tight and he's mobile, and that might be the edge that they're giving to him so he can get out and make some more plays and stretch a first down if needed to. John Mateer's situation, don't want to touch on this too much because we don't have all the information, and it may just dissipate like dust in the wind. I mean, he had some serious Venmo transactions that was out there on the public's eye a couple nights ago, and it was not a good look. So that
he'll just blame it on his translator like Otani.
You got to blame it on something. It was interesting to say the least, especially how some of the things aligned there. Ty Simpson was recently named the starter at Alabama. That is not a surprise for us. We did think that was going to be what happened. Tennessee is extremely close to naming Joey Aguilar the starter. Also not a surprise you go add him late in the portal to do a QB swapperoo with Nico, who has just left your program. Caden Salter. This is one that's kind of intriguing to me. Looking like he is going to get the job there at Colorado over Juju. So I'm glad that we were kind of all over that one. And this is an interesting one here, fellas. I'm anxious to see what you guys have to say. And anybody listen to us, drop a comment on what you think about this. I read today. I also don't know if this is going to be completely true, but I read today that Auburn is going to take a unique play calling style and have 3 different coaches in the headset calling plays for Jackson Arnold on offense. meaning that they have one for first down, one for second down, and one for third down. I know Hugh Freeze did an interview later this afternoon touching on that a little bit, saying, hey, I still have the right to override any of these play calls. All of these guys are eligible to call plays. These are analysts for us. They know the plays. They can come in and do these things. That's unique, and I don't like that for anybody.
I think
that might be the dumbest thing I've ever heard. I hope this means that they have some input, like, hey, coach, maybe we should call this on second down or something like that, not multiple guys calling the plays at the same time on different downs.
That's apparently what they said, Brian, that this specific coach is calling first down. Second coach is calling second down. Apparently Hugh Freeze is a second down coach. Third coach is calling third down, and they're just working plays ahead based on what they're seeing on the field. For a quarterback that did not look confident last year, got thrown under the bus, I feel like this is the worst idea ever. Why would you want three people trying to tell you what to do on every single play? It doesn't make any sense.
You see it from the standpoint of trying to be prepared, like be a couple plays ahead. But if you're a good offensive coordinator, you should be doing that anyway.
That already.
So, I mean, I think they're just muddying the waters and grasping at straws at this point.
So,
especially with his job on the line. That's nuts.
Yeah. But I did hear a stance on this out there and read a comment that somebody was saying, well, this might be genius, and then he can just blame other coaches every week. Oh, who knows, honestly? But honest question, knowing you were a quarterback in high school, and you weren't in an environment that you had 90,000 people, 90,000 fans yelling. Could you imagine having three different coaches in your headset coming in on every different play? Like, could you really ever settle in? Could you really ever get in I just couldn't imagine.
No.
What that
Especially with what they're asking these quarterbacks to do. At high school, I was asked to look at the box. I was asked to look at what coverage I thought it was. And then we're pretty much deciding where the ball is going at that point. More often than not, we had practiced enough. We knew the scouting report enough that we had a decent idea. What they're asking these college quarterbacks to do to read a defense, they're counting the box, they're looking for the middle linebacker, they're looking coverage, is safety rolling down. This is all in a span of 10 seconds. I don't know if anybody watched the quarterback documentary on Netflix where they go through the entire list of what they're looking for. It's not the entire list that the NFL quarterback is looking for, but they're still asking these guys to do a lot. And if you have three people talking at the same time while you're trying to process all this information, it's just not going to be good.
You're going to go insane.
Yes.
You're going to lose your marbles.
And I saw video clips today out of Auburn's camp where Hugh Freeze is absolutely losing it on Jackson Arnold already. So, like this, there is just not good things taking place coming out of this Auburn camp. I have really bad vibes and feelings as to what's going on there. I hope they get this thing in the right direction. I think the college football is better when I love the Mizzou winning the Natty. College football is better when Auburn football is good. That's kind of cliche to say about certain teams, but it's the truth. And the SEC
another issue I have with this is a kind of a real world problem. Like, you got to have three connections to Jackson Arnold's helmet from three different people. Like, I feel like there's going to be some technical difficulties. Especially when you're playing on the road, like something's going to go awry in that situation. I feel like, to where there's not going to be communication where it's supposed to be. Then, somebody's going to be losing it. He's in and out, and this is going to make it even worse.
And then Hugh Freeze can override the play. So let's say the play comes in. Well, Hugh Freeze doesn't like it. So now we got more mumble jumble going on in the headset, and there's 90,000 fans there banging on pots and pans, and you're trying to hear
yeah, it's so stupid.
Good luck. I hope there's more to the story as to what's going on, and it really doesn't happen. That's really, really bad. Yeah, we were actually just referring to this video a second ago of not looking good, and Hugh Freeze lighting him up. It looked like a simple drag route, short out route. I couldn't really see from the angle of the camera what the route was, but it was there. It was open, and did not get it. So it was not great. So don't love the situation at Auburn right now. Let's talk a little bit about the AP poll. We talked about the coaches poll last week. The AP poll comes out this week. So we're not going to spend a ton of time on the AP poll here because it is very, very similar to the coaches poll last week. Also, as you can see, we have our media back this week. Don't know what happened last week, but we have it all here this week. So that's exciting and a lot easier for us. We don't have to do as much talking. So as you see the AP poll here scrolling across the top, if there's anything you guys want to point out, if not, we can kind of just breeze through this real quick and not give it a whole lot of conversation. Like I said, it is very, very similar to the coaches poll. And I didn't see a whole lot of difference here that made me want to have serious conversations. So if you guys have anything, let her rip.
It's mostly just the quarterback questions. What are we doing at, say, Notre Dame? What are we doing, say, at Tennessee? Because I know you said Joey Aguilar. I've seen a couple different things on message boards where they're not going with Joey Aguilar as their starting quarterback.
Okay.
It just I don't know why you bring him in if you're not going to have him as a starter, whatever. It just, there's too many question marks on some of these teams. I actually just, the most arbitrary date possible, but Sunday into Monday was my last day that I would feel good about a quarterback being announced in some of these quarterback races. So, Alabama got in just under time, just on time. I feel good about that. You have 2 weeks. Some of these teams are not playing week 0 games. So you have 2 weeks. We've just announced you as the quarterback. Let's see it this year. Ohio State, they still haven't announced. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. You could take it sort of like you said with the Notre Dame situation and CJ Carr and Minchie. You could take it as Minchie is really overperforming, or you can take it as, why isn't CJ Carr just taking the job and overperforming in practice? That's the way I take it on some of these, because as we were going into camp, everybody was pretty sure, or as we were going into the summer football season, people were pretty sure that it was going to be CJ Carr. People were pretty sure it was going to be Julian Sayin. Alabama's the only one that announced a quarterback at this point. Again, arbitrary date, but I feel much better about Alabama than I do Ohio State, Notre Dame at the moment.
You read into Notre Dame too a little bit. Sorry to cut you off, Colin.
You're
You read the message boards. It seems like, yeah, they're not the coaches in the room, but it seems like everybody not in the room on Notre Dame staff does not want CJ Carr to be the quarterback.
Yeah.
They're like, why in the hell is Minchie even in the question, personally? And I think that's kind of surprising. Maybe they're onto something there. Obviously, keyboard warriors aren't always right, but I don't know. It seems a little fishy.
Have we ever seen this many quarterback questions in the top 25 preseason?
Not really. I think the transfer portal has a big reason why it's like this, honestly. There's just so many guys moving around.
I'm going through counting super quick here, but I would say it's somewhere in the 12.5 range in the top 25 that have returning quarterbacks. And when I say half, I mean DJ Lagway. I would count him kind of as a half. Trying to see who else I counted as a half as I breeze through this real quick.
DJ Lagway was apparently throwing footballs at practice today, by the way.
Yeah, no, I wasn't really a live practice from what I understand, right? Just kind of getting some routes and just throwing some passes, which is getting
through this real quick.
It wasn't even 7-on-7. It was just throwing routes.
I mean, who's got surefire quarterbacks we know about? Texas, yes. Penn State, yes.
That's still one of those deals. Is it surefire, or we just know who it is?
We just know who it is. I don't know about surefire.
Penn State, yes. Ohio State, no. Clemson, yes. Georgia, no. Notre Dame, no. Oregon, and
I would say you have Georgia and Oregon, right? You would have Gunnar Stockton before you would ever say Dante Moore at Oregon.
That's true, but then that's another question mark. I mean, is he any good? There's like almost 3 tiers. We have our quarterback like Drew Aller. We have a quarterback like Gunnar Stockton, or who the hell is going to be our quarterback like Notre Dame or Tennessee?
That's what's crazy about this top 25. Like, you get all the way down to 25 and you see Boise State in here and you can say, hey, they have their guy. It's Maddox Matson.
Yep.
Like, when he's like the 12th or 13th most surefire guy on this top 25, that could make things really dicey and really interesting down the stretch. I think honestly the most surefire guy outside of the top 5 you see here in Penn State and Clemson, you would go all the way to LSU at number 9, and then you'd go to Sam Leavitt at number 11.
Yep.
And then 11, 12, 13, you know who their guys are. And I trust in all 3 of those guys. Then you go to 14, 15. If DJ Lagway was on the field, love him, trust him, but he's still on the field. 14, Bryce Underwood. Is he the guy? I mean, I think he's the guy, right? I mean, or is Mikey King going to see them? I mean, So many questions. Then you get to 16, Kevin Jennings.
We know it's him.
Then you get to 17, Avery Johnson. 18, well, we thought it was John Mateer. It should be John Mateer. As long as nothing crazy happens there, it should be John Mateer. Marcel Reed, don't love him. 20,
Mendoza.
bringing Mendoza. 21, Austin Simmons. I probably trust Austin Simmons more than half these guys on this list, and it's his first year going to be the starter. 22 is a Rocco Beck, right?
Yeah, we know him.
23, I'm drawing a blank on his name. We know it's him as long as his shoulder's okay. What's his name? Help me out here.
It's skipping my mind at the same time as yours.
Come back to that. 24, Joey Aguilar, we think. 25, Maddox Madsen. So it is a ton of questions on this top 25 quarterback. Yeah, we have a comment in here. I feel like Michigan is really relying on Underwood to be really good this year. Yeah, they are. I couldn't agree with you more. If you go back and watch a couple episodes ago, I was one of the guys that was absolutely hating on Michigan because, one, who's catching the football? Colston Loveland's no longer there. They don't have good receivers. The running backs, I think they're okay, but not super great. You can't really just rely on them. And Mikey Keene's not a difference maker. So you're really wanting a true freshman Bryce Underwood phenom to truly be a phenom.
They paid up for him.
I'm with you on that. Brian, did you look up Texas Tech quarterback? Why are we forgetting his name?
Yeah, it's Baron Morton.
Baron Morton, not Brandon Morton. Baron Morton. There it is. Thank you. Which he is good and reliable as long as he's healthy.
Yes.
He's good numbers, good season last year, and they put a ton of talent around him. So, yeah. Well, the top 25 is not going to look like this going into week 2, I can promise you. There's going to be a lot of shuffling around, and that's when we're going to come out with our own. We're going to be done with the AP top 25. All last year we did our own thing, and felt like we were actually really accurate down the stretch. So we will definitely continue on with that. Okay. So now that we're done with the AP poll, we're going to move into our conference winners this season. This is where you can follow along with us. We brag often about what our winning record was last year when it came to putting bets out there for our listeners that were following along all season. We were 83-72. That's 11 games over. And fellas, that is really impressive, especially when you bet almost 160 bets, games, whatever you want to call it. We had 160 plays almost out there last year, and we were 11 games over. That's impressive. So make sure that you're following along with us here. And we are all doing our own here. So if you like Bryant's and you want to get in line with Bryant, do that. If you like Nolan's and want to get in line with Nolan, do that. If you like mine and you want to get in line with me, do that. So let's go ahead and get this thing going. We're going to give you our runner-up first, and then we're going to go ahead and give you who our favorite is to win the conference. So let's start right here with the Big 12. Bryant, who do you have as your Big 12 runner-up?
I think the Big 12 is all over the place, but I have Kansas State runner-up in this conference. Avery Johnson, I think he takes a step forward. Dylan Edwards is going to be a really good running back. And they have a really good defense. One of my finalists my pick for Defensive Player of the Year is Austin Romaine. Big salad there in the middle linebacker on their defensive side of the ball. So I got K-State. They got a decent schedule. They have an experienced team. I think they're going to be right there in the end and playing for this title in December. So I have K-State, the runner-up there in the Big 12.
All right, Brian. Well, who's your conference winner?
My conference winner is Arizona State. I think we're going to see a lot of what they did last year come to fruition again this year. Yeah, they lose Scattaboo, but they got a really good running back in the portal in Kanye Udo. Jordan Tyson is one of the best receivers in the country when he's healthy. Sam Levitt is very good, and this defense is going to be just as good as they were last year, returning a bunch of guys on that side of the ball too. Also a pretty favorable schedule in my opinion. So I'm going Arizona State. I think they're going to win the Big 12 as they did last year and repeat as champions.
Nolan, who's your runner-up?
My runner-up is Arizona State, also having them, get to the kind of title of the Big 12. Same points as Bryant. I don't know what they're going to look like without Cam Scattaboo this year. I agree. Kanye Udo's a great running back, but Cam Scattaboo in that playoff game against Texas, man, he looked like the entire offense. Can they overcome it? My champion this year?
Just to push back a little bit.
Go ahead.
In that game, you were missing a Jordan Tyson who was huge, and you kind of lose a lot of that passing attack. Just pushing back a little bit, thoughts that I had on that. So I am with you, though. Cam Scattaboo proved to be a 80% offense for them.
My champion this year, I think Texas Tech. They paid all that money for their roster. I think it's going to pay off for them, and it's just going to keep happening again and again. They're just going to spend all that oil money down at Texas Tech, get a bunch of transfers. They're going to start going into the high school ranks, and they're going to actually become the Big 12 team that I think not this year. Don't get me wrong. It's going to be in a couple of years, but I think it's going to be only Texas Tech that is going to be in the Big 12 pushing for a national title. None of these Big 12 schools this year, I don't think, have a chance at the title. I'm including Arizona State in that. They just don't have top to bottom along the lines of scrimmage national championship, and that's why I have Texas Tech. They're paying up for their roster. I think they're going to do it.
So, spoiler alert, next week we are switching to 2 episodes a week. We're getting back in the groove of things for the actual season. And early next week, we are going to do an episode where we talk about coaches that are under the most pressure going into the 2025 season. How much pressure is Joey McGuire under going into this season?
I think if you don't finish 1 or 2 in the Big 12, there's a chance he's gone. You just paid all this money for it. There's all these expectations around this season. You have to be 10-2, 11-1,
9-3
somewhere in that range. I don't know. 9-3, great season. Again, great season. I think you have to temper your expectations a little bit. But at the same time, 9-3 with all of this money they spent, all the expectations they have coming into the season, I think he's going to be in still some hot water going 9-3. I think it's 10-2 or better.
I think it's 9-3 is okay, depending on where that puts you in the conference standings. If that makes you finish third behind Arizona State and Kansas State, you're in deep shit. I mean, they don't spend all that money and have all that money to watch you just be average. So I'll go ahead and keep Texas Tech up while we're right here, because my runner-up for the Big 12 is Texas Tech this season for all the reasons you kind of said, Nolan. I do think that this is a good football team. I think they've bought tons and tons of talent. I think there's no reason that they don't. I think this schedule sets up okay for them. You do draw Arizona State and you do draw Kansas State. I have them. Everything I pick on this episode tonight is completely based off everything we've done all offseason. It is based off all the research, all the evidence, all the picks, all the win totals. I did not change anything along the way. I kept exactly what I thought and went with everything from my notes. So this episode took me a long time to go in through and pick my conference winners and my playoff teams. I did it exactly how I should based on all the evidence I've gave so far in previous episodes. And I have Texas Tech as the runner-up for the Big 12 this season. I had them beating Arizona State, but losing to Kansas State. And that is where I'll go ahead and tell you that I have Kansas State winning the Big 12 this football season. And that is due to the head-to-head against Texas Tech. And I have them playing in the game and Kansas State coming out on top. You guys know how big I am on Kansas State this football season. I am kind of a lone wolf on this island, I feel like, a little bit. But we have mentioned many players who early in our June episode where we talked about our players to watch for the Big 12 and our Deep Threat Sports Network's kind of freak list. And I've mentioned Jace Brown. Bryant and I have beat up Austin Romaine's name all over this show on the defensive side of the ball. I have beat up Avery Johnson as a quarterback for the last 2 seasons. And I think this second year as a full-time starter with the offensive coordinator coming back in Matt Wells and continuity, I think this is where you could see Kansas State really take that leap. And I love this comment. I told these guys on the show that I did not wear a hat
that's funny.
because of how much shit I took on last week's episode over my hat. So the gray hairs are shining, and I'm out tonight with no hat. And I think it looks damn good, Joshua. So thanks for pointing that out. But back to Kansas State. I love this team. I love Edwards as a running back. I really think that this team with Chris Kleiman and Matt Wells in year 2 as the OC and Avery Johnson year 2 as the full-time starter really do take that next step. And if you look at their schedule, it's fairly tough. I mean, there's some games in there they could got this week 0 game over in Dublin against Iowa State. That's a game that anybody could win. And if you see Iowa State win it, well, you might see me backpedal on our week 1 episode, but I do think Kansas State wins, and even if they lose that one, I think they right the ship pretty quick. So Kansas State for me in the Big 12, fellas.
I got a question about the Big 12 for you guys. I see a lot of national media members and other podcasts and whatnot being so high on Utah. Do you guys understand that? Like, I personally don't at all. Like,
I
I
do.
see
There's
them
a lot of love for Dampier really fast.
yes,
We all these other shows and websites and accounts that you see online are really in on Dampier and really taking steps back on like Avery Johnson and Sam Levitt. Like we're talking a lot more on these other shows about Dampier than we are guys that are staples for their team already that we know can at least do it at this level. I mean, Dampier's taken a step up to a Power 4 school. I think he's good, and I think he could take that next step. But let's not put the carriage in front of the horse.
yeah. Every time I see that, and it's been multiple times, like dark horse playoff contender, might win the Big 12 type predictions with Utah. And I know we talked about them at length in that show, and I think we were all right around their win total, maybe a few under, as far as a few guys on our show under. So I just don't see it, but I just wanted to bring that up.
I think it's because of Nolan's point he made on the Big 12 episode. The talent is so close on the Big 12 that it really could hit if they get a couple games at home.
Yeah.
Utah is also the odds-on favorite to win the Big 12 at the moment.
Are you serious? I had not looked at that.
They're the
I
favorite.
just looked it up. Utah is plus 550 to
Kansas.
win the Big 12.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned that. I was supposed to throw these up here as we did those. Kansas State 550, Arizona State 550, Texas Tech 600, and none of us had Utah, so I didn't throw them up there. But wow,
I'll look real quick.
Utah plus 550. K-State, it looks like, moved to 600.
wow, okay.
Arizona State plus 600. Baylor plus 600. Texas Tech plus 600. Then we start jumping a little bit. We
Are those from DraftKings? I grabbed all these from DraftKings this yesterday morning.
I'm on DraftKings right now.
This is per bet MGM.
So
K-State,
maybe
DraftKings, K-State's 550, Arizona State 550, Utah 600, Texas Tech 600.
okay.
So
So then we see a little bit of difference between the books, and obviously
good offense or good defense every year, though. I mean,
yeah.
if you're going to stop a team, that's what the Big 12 is. It's all offense. If you can stop somebody's offense just a couple times.
And Whitney was one of the better coaches, I would say, in the conference too.
Yeah. And as you see, we have no Dave tonight, but maybe Dave's Utah pick to win the Big 12 wasn't so crazy after all. Maybe he should have been again. So if
that's going to be his Travis Hunter wagon this year,
if that shit happens,
is
and
Utah.
And Dave hits again, fellas, we're going to have a serious conversation over like us three sit down and figure out
we'll have to make Dave the CFO then for sure.
Jesus Christ, he nailed it all last year. Okay, let's move on to the ACC here. Nolan, you go ahead and lead us off this time. I don't think this is going to be a shock for anybody that watched our last week episode, so we can keep it pretty brief in the ACC. We're already 38 minutes in here and still have a lot of information to cover, so we can keep the ACC pretty brief. As you all saw our episode last week, Nolan, fire it off. Who's your runner-up and winner?
Got my runner-up as SMU. Might be a little shock for people over Miami. I just have big questions about Miami's offense. I think SMU is going to take it. And then my championship for the ACC, I have Clemson taking it. Again, like Colin said, no shock to anybody. We went over this last week.
Bryant?
My runner-up is maybe a little bit of a surprise to some people possibly. I have Louisville being the running back for the ACC. I think Miller Moss will translate very well into a Jeff Brom-led team. I trust him to be the head coach. I mean, we talked at length on the show about how much we love Jeff Brom. They got a very, very underrated running back in Isaac Brown who puts up serious stats last season. I think he backs it up again this year. And a lot of returning talent on the defensive side of the ball as well. So they are my runner-up in the ACC. And obviously, I'm right there with Nolan, and I'm probably calling two on my winner of the ACC. And that's Clemson. We talked at length with them and how much we love them and why. So Clemson, I think, wins the ACC championship. And they are a pretty big favorite.
Yeah, they're a pretty big favorite for the right reasons. I mean, a conference winner at plus 105, I mean, that's a pretty not good odds to bet, I guess you could say, in a sense of return, but it's pretty good odds that you should feel comfortable with the bet and wager that you are making. So I'm with that. Obviously, Clemson's going to be my winner too, for all the reasons we already said. All the names we said last week, we could name the whole roster again if we needed to, but we don't need to. Just go back and watch our last episodes. Clemson's the real damn deal. But my runner-up, It is going, and I cannot believe I am going to do this. Like I said, I went back and looked at all of my ACC notes, all of my win totals from the ACC, and it's going to be Miami. I didn't think I was going to like Miami again. And everybody that follows our network and our college shows, I got to say this every time I can. I got to get a right hook on this guy every time I can. Mario sucks. So I cannot believe that I have Miami in this conversation again. They're going to upset me somewhere. I'm not a Miami fan, but here I go put my neck out here for Mario again to just absolutely punch me right in the throat at some point, and they're going to drop something stupid, and then I'm going to kick my own ass and wonder why I did it again. And I've said it before on our show. If Miami didn't win it last year, how in the hell are they going to win it this year? But I do think they have enough talent to be the runner-up in the conference this year. And part of me does think that we're going to see some good things out of Beck. I think maybe a change of scenery was good for him. And that's a crazy take because I did not think that beforehand. But all the things I'm reading out of their camp and what they're saying, maybe they're just blowing smoke. But they really like what they have in Carson Beck right now. So I'm not, like I said, I'm going to stay true to my notes and stay true to my win totals. So this is just how it shook out for me, fellas. I know you guys don't love it, and I don't really love it either. But it's
there a bookmark button on here somewhere?
Wait, we can save this. And we can come back and we can say, hey, I told my own self so. But this is just how it shakes out.
So, we'll have to clip it, Bryant. Play it in the middle.
Yeah, we need to have like a show in December after everything's done, like dumbass of the year or something. And
those icy cold takes that you see.
Yeah, like freezing cold takes.
Hey, I do like that, but don't think I don't have every note from every episode. I got all of us. So we all sink together or we all float together. That's just how we roll, boys. All right, let's move on to the Big Ten here. I'll go ahead and take it first this time just because, I guess it's my turn. So my Big Ten runner-up this season is going to be Penn State. They are my runner-up, and I think a lot of people probably thought that they were going to be the winner for me. But once again, sticking true to my notes, my Big Ten winner this season is the Ohio State Buckeyes. I think the Ohio State Buckeyes come back. I know in the beginning of this episode we talked about the quarterback questions. I think this one is a little bit different. I think this quarterback battle is a quarterback battle where we see two really good options at the quarterback position. I do think Julian Sand can spin it. I do think Keenhole shows good things. Let's not forget how big of a recruit he was. And another year with the system and with Ryan Day, I kind of like the continuity here. I know I talked also at length about how you lose Chip Kelly, and I think that shouldn't go under the radar, that you lose Chip Kelly as your play caller. I also know that you lose the DC over to your rival in Penn State. There is some changes here. But I think this is a team that can get back on track really quick. And also, I only had them losing one game. And it is the first game of the season against Texas. But that's out of conference. So winning the rest of the way, that becomes the favorite. You get Penn State at home. And I think after that, what we said on our show before is I would give their next toughest game at Washington almost. So I think this Ohio State team sets up really well to make a run again. I don't think the drop-off from Will Howard to Julian Sand or Keenholz is that big. I know Will Howard had a really good season last year, and I know Will Howard had a really good playoff last year. I just don't believe the drop-off is that much. Let's not forget, Kansas State willingly moved on from Will Howard. So I don't think it's a huge drop-off. I think they also have the best offensive player in the country and the best defensive player in the country. You have Caleb Downs, and you have Jeremiah Smith. So with those two guys on either side of the ball for your team, you're doing just fine. I also think you remove kind of a little bit of pressure from Ryan Day. I think the only real pressure Ryan Day feels this season is on November 29th against Michigan. I think outside of that, hey, he's won the title. That monkey's off his back. They can breathe a little bit. They can take a little bit of time to really settle in and then start being world beaters again. And everything I keep hearing, they love this running back room. So I am in on Ohio State, and I can't stand them. But this is what we do, and we stay true, and we stay real. I am in on Ohio State again to win the Big Ten, even though they didn't win it last season. But I'm in on them again this season. So, Nolan, where are you at?
You can leave Ohio State up there if you feel like it. They're my runner-up.
Okay.
I also only have them losing to Texas, make the Big Ten championship game, and losing to my champion, Penn State. Real hard to beat a team twice in a season, boys. I think in the Big Ten championship game, Penn State ends up picking it up. Same reasons that you said for Ohio State. I love them this year. I think the only game they lose is against Texas, other than that Big Ten championship game. I do think it's a bigger drop-off than you're giving them credit for, from Will Howard to Julian Sayin-Kindholes. And I don't think it's the talent. I think it's the processing factor, like we talked about at the beginning of the episode. He was in college a long time. He had seen a lot of different defenses, able to process this, process that. Talking to Chip Kelly, it's only got to help your processing speed, your processing kind of looking at the right thing, I guess I would say, to
Leadership.
figure out where you need to go. Yeah. Figure out where you need to go. And that's more so why I want Penn State as my champion. Drew Allen's got another season to do it.
Before you go to Penn State, too, I'm going to back you up on what you just said, too. I like what you said. I think the floor is higher for Will Howard than what it would be for Julian Sayin-Kindholes. I think the ceiling for those two could be higher than the Will Howard. So just about, I like what you said there. So you like Penn State, I'll throw them up here for you.
Yep, but that's why I have Penn State. Give me Drew Aller at the quarterback position. Another year in the offense. He's got that processing speed that we're talking about. I think, like I said, I think they lose that game to Ohio State middle of the season, and I think that's where the it factor really comes in the Big Ten championship game. They've seen what Ohio State's going to do. They've seen the defense they're going to play against them, coverage, the blitz schemes, everything. And especially with the new DC at Ohio State, I just don't think they're going to be able to draw up super, super creative things to try and confuse him. So I have Penn State winning the Big Ten championship game.
Yeah, Jim Knowles, that's a big get, man. And Andy Kotelnicki year 2 with Drew Aller, that's huge. Hey, the Penn State thing for me is I was all in on them last year. This year, they're going to have to prove it to me. They got to get me back. They got to reel me back in. The James Franklin effect, the big game effect, you've got to reel me back in and prove that you can beat an Ohio State when it matters, and then I'm all in. Brian, where you at?
I'm right there with Nolan. I have the same runner-up and champion. Kind of stole the words out of my mouth there with I don't think Penn State beats them in the regular season, but I think they beat them in the title game. Love all your points about Ohio State. I think I agree with everything you guys say. I do think they'll still be in the playoff, even though I don't think they have them winning this title game for sure. But to Penn State, I got them winning it all. Personally, I think one of the best offensive lines in college football. And we can't forget they have a dual-headed running back there in Katron Allen and Nick Singleton. Those two guys alone are studs at the running back position that are only going to take even more pressure off Drew Aller throwing the ball through the air. So I'm riding with Penn State. I got a good feeling about them this year for all the right reasons, I feel like. So I have him winning the championship of the Big Ten.
Let's see Drew Aller throw the ball down the field this season. I think that is where they could go to legitimate title contender, is if teams are afraid of them throwing the deep ball and beating them behind coverage, because that is where I wouldn't be intimidated from this football team if I'm matching up against them right now. Still, you have to show me that you can go do that, and then you would be true title contenders, I feel like. So
similar to Will Howard in the playoff last year. They were a good passing offense, and then all of a sudden they felt like they hit another gear that nobody else had, and there was nobody stopping them.
They took the leash off, man. They took the leash off and didn't get scared and made the big-time plays. That's where it's different. That's where it changes. Moving on to the SEC, Bryant, why don't you lead us off with your SEC runner-up and conference winner?
I got Georgia Bulldogs as my runner-up. I think Gunnar Stockton can carry this team to a good enough season to get there. They always have an elite defense like every year. It seems like the past 10 years that Georgia's had. I think Nate Frazier is a very underrated running back in this conference. Yes. I think he's going to carry a lot of the load, going to be a Nick Chubb type player where they can lean on him and depend on him to move the ball down the field with his legs. Tough schedule personally, but I think Georgia will prevail and make it to Atlanta there in early December in the SEC championship game. I think we'll see the blue blood of Georgia right back where they seem to always be. And my champion, I've been up and down on this team in the SEC this year. I've been out, I've been back in, and now I'm back in. I believe I'm Texas Texas is going to win the SEC. I think Arch Manning is all he's chalked up to be, at least on paper. I think he puts it out on the field and shows everybody that. Also a tough schedule too, but every team in the SEC has a tough schedule. This team is loaded on the defensive side of the ball, especially on the line. So I'm rolling with Texas. I might change my mind again next week, but I think I'm going to ride with them.
I don't hate it. Nolan, where you at?
We'll start with my runner-up first. I got LSU as the runner-up here in the SEC. I think Garrett Nussmeier is just going to carry them on his back. He's going to throw for a ton of yards as long as he can stay healthy. Apparently, it came out he's got some patellar tendonitis from that little brush up in camp. It's an injury he's had in the past. He's kind of dealt with it. It's never really kept him out. So as long as it doesn't keep him out, I think LSU has a shot at winning the whole thing. I just don't see him winning the SEC. And then my champion, I have Georgia. Again, just like Bryant said, it's their defense that's going to carry them. I don't think Gunnar Stockton has to do all that much. And I only laugh when you say everybody in the SEC has a tough schedule because we're down on Tennessee. We're pretty far down on Kentucky, Auburn. We just talked about the mess it might be. Florida, DJ Lagway is not playing. Man, I think they're probably 6-6, maybe missing a bowl game if Lagway doesn't play. And then everybody notices, I'm sure now, I don't have Texas in my SEC championship game. I don't know how I believe in Arch, what exactly it's going to do this year. They're replacing some guys on their offensive line. It's not – some of the reports I'm reading out of camp about their blocking on the offensive line, not great. So I'm a little down on Texas compared to that SEC episode that we did. So the schedule isn't awful by any means. It's not easy, I'll tell you that. It's still an SEC schedule. These are big dudes in here. But at the same time, I don't know if it's as hard as we're giving them credit for. I would like to see Georgia play, say, Oklahoma's schedule.
So let me just go ahead and back you up all the way, Nolan. My SEC runner-up is LSU. I have LSU going 10-2 this season. One of those losses is out of conference, so therefore they fall next in line for me to be in the SEC championship game. Thus, arguably the top quarterback in college football. They're loving this receiving core. They're loving Barry and Brown, the transfer in from Kentucky. This defense is trending in the right direction. You've seen them make improvements over the last 2 seasons with Blake Baker coming in there. I talked before on our awards episode how I think Whit Weeks becomes the defensive player of the year, and I love this LSU football team this season. We all know I'm not a huge Brian Kelly fan, but I think LSU gets the job done this season to be in the SEC championship game. And let me just get all the way in line with you, Nolan. My SEC champion this season is the Georgia Bulldogs. Here's why. One, I had them going 12-0. But here's one of the reasons why I had them going 12-0. Kirby Smart has been scarily quiet this offseason. It is like
I agree.
Very silent conversations coming from Kirby. And to me, that should be scary for any team that's on this football schedule. That is not normal for him. And I think he's going to go out, prove a point, and get in some of these teams' ass this season. You see Beck transfer out, and Stockton is going to be the guy this season. And I don't think they're all that upset about it. I think they are pretty excited about this receiving core. Last year, they were like bottom 10 in the country in drops in all of college football. This season, they look to, if they just get halfway up that list, you're going to see an even better football team, a great defensive unit. The running back room is incredible. They bring in McCray from Illinois, and Frazier's already there at Georgia, who was a highly touted recruit. This is a really good football team. As long as the offensive line stays healthy, as long as the receivers catch the football, and as long as Stockton doesn't throw a shit ton of interceptions, this football team's off to the races and is really going to make some noise down the stretch and even in the playoffs. Give me Georgia. I hate saying it, but I'm all in on the Bulldogs this season.
You're right, though, with the Kirby Smart thing. Like, he's usually pretty vocal about how much what's going on, how he enjoys his football team, and it's been crickets.
There is nothing.
The boys are down there just getting busy and getting ready.
I think they love the fact that what I'm throwing up right here with Texas plus 270, I think Georgia is loving seeing that, and that is just poster board material in the locker room, the weight room. There's probably punching bags with Arch's face on it. I mean, they are loving this shit. This is one time where they're not the betting favorite in the SEC for the first time in some seasons, and They're loving this. So real quick, tell me if you guys disagree. I just have something out there that I put together so we don't forget about the G5 teams. I didn't want to put your guys' name on it too, just in case I throw one of these up and you don't like it. So I did just throw my name on this real quick before we got going tonight. I have my CUSA winner as Liberty sitting at plus 100. I would be really shocked if either one of you actually disagreed with that. They have the softest schedule in the country. I have my MAC winner sitting at Toledo at plus 230. I think you could see Toledo make some serious noise right out of the gate. I think they play Kentucky game 1 of the season, if I recall, and I think you could see them go punch them in the mouth. Don't be surprised by that, actually. I have the Mountain West Conference winner for me at Boise State at minus 150. I don't see anybody banging with them in the Mountain West Conference this season. I have my Sun Belt winner as JMU sitting at plus 290. Kind of a tough schedule for them. I know you boys are about to come in here, and I was waiting for this one, so go ahead and tell me real quick. You two take your moment to shine right here and tell me who your Sun Belt winner is.
Go ahead, Brian.
It's the Suns. I mean, it's the Marshall. I mean, the Southern Miss Golden Eagles.
Yes.
What a step up. For return of investment, I love that. Just don't think it happens, fellas.
JMU's a good team. It's not a for sure thing that Southern Miss is going to win. JMU's a good team. But at the same time, you give me the conference champion from last year and just run it back?
Speaking JC real quick, are we sure Sluka is the starting quarterback? Because the quarterback they had last year, Alonzo Barnett, put up massive numbers. I think he's going to be healthy.
Well, it sounds like they got two good options then if I'm them. So, all right. And then the last one I have here is the AAC winner, and I know you guys are going to disagree with this one. Of Memphis at plus 550. Love the return of investment on Memphis at plus 550. I think they have loads and loads of talent, and I really like what they bring to the table here. You two can go because I know neither one of you have Memphis.
Dude, I don't really remember who I picked in. I know Memphis was up there. I think I had Navy.
You have Navy.
So I think I'm going to roll with Navy, but I think I can see Memphis doing it for sure.
I love the Memphis team this year, boys. I'm going to be honest with you, and I think they shocked some people because I think Tulane is actually the betting favorite in the AAC, and then I think it's Memphis number 2, if I remember correctly. One of our viewers said, I like Texas, but not the state. I'm all in on that. I love that. But, yeah, Memphis for me at plus 550. Okay. That wraps up our conference winners. We've been really long-winded so far in this episode, so we're going to do our playoff conversation now. And this is where we talked before we came into this. This is where it could get really, really long-winded. But if you kind of follow along with our conference winners and our picks already throughout the offseason, this is where we're just going to kind of breeze through real quick who our 3 playoff teams are. And this is in no particular order. We have not broke this down into seeding. I think that is crazy and asinine for us to come in here and tell you that we think that Texas Tech is going to be the 6th seed. Yep. We have no idea. But we are confident that we think Texas Tech is a playoff team. We have no idea what the seeding comes to. I think the preseason polls, I think the preseason playoff seeding is asinine. So this is where we come back and we keep it vague but accurate and confident in our answers of the teams that we think do make the playoffs. So we're going to go ahead and lead this off with Nolan. Go ahead and tell us who your 12 playoff teams are. I will scroll them across the bottom here. This is in no particular order. So Nolan, if you want to go ahead and kind of read the people that are listening out there who your playoff teams are, go ahead and let her fly.
So I got obviously my conference winners, but we're going to just run down the list here. Penn State, Georgia, Clemson, Notre Dame, Texas Tech, Ohio State, Oregon, LSU, Alabama, Texas, and then SMU and Navy. So there's only a few things I want to point out here. Like Colin said, I disagree with his Memphis pick. I think Navy is going to be the G5 representative this year in the playoff. I understand Liberty might go 12-0, but they said it on the episode already. Easiest schedule in the nation. I don't think they're going to get a lot of love from some of these voters, even if they do go 12-0. So I got Navy in there. The other thing I want to point out, I have one single Big 12 team. I think the Big 12 is just such a crapshoot this year. There's going to be a Big 12 winner that may be 10-2. It may be 9-3. I don't know. Everybody plays everybody, and I think they're all going to beat up on each other. And I think that's what only gives them one single representative this year. every other conference having 2 or more.
I love that we have guys campaigning for teams. I don't know, Tristan, who Jacob Sand is. I don't know if you mean Julian Sand. If you mean Julian Sand, I like Julian Sand. Jacob Sand, let me know where he plays. Give me
his brother.
Yeah, I guess he's got his brother in high school that is slinging the rock around on TV.
He plays for Miami of Ohio.
Yeah, I mean, so I do like saying, though, if that's who you're talking about. Hey, I love the picks, Nolan. We're aligned on quite a bit of things. I do push back on the Big 12 thing just a little bit because I think there's some teams in there that could rattle some cages. So, Bryant, go ahead and rattle yours off.
So my college football playoff teams, I'll start here on the top and rattle them off. I got Texas, Georgia, Penn State, Ohio State, Arizona State, K-State. I got all the states. Clemson, Oregon, LSU, Notre Dame, South Carolina, and Navy. I kind of went against the grain a little bit. I think there's going to be 2 Big 12 teams, unlike last year in Arizona State and K-State. I'm right there with Nolan with the Navy pick. I think they're going to be the best G5 team and get that bid. Lots of SEC, lots of Big 10. And I have a sleeper. I think that could be a very good football team this year in South Carolina sneaking in. They almost did it last year, and I think this team's better than they were last year. So why not? I got South Carolina as kind of my sleeper pick for the college football playoff. I think I have a decent list, kind of along the lines a lot with Nolan had, just a little bit different as far as having 2 Big 12 teams rather than a few more ACC teams.
So you have South Carolina instead of Bama, from what I understand from your SEC.
Pretty much, yes, and then basically K-State instead of SMU.
I can't say I completely agree with it. You all know how I feel about South Carolina this year, but at the same time, it's just as likely as Bama is, more than likely.
Mm-hmm.
I don't hate it. Moving on to my list here, I took some. This took me probably an hour and a half, legit, to make this list, and the reason why is I went through every win total that we did all season, and I went through and did every single team. I categorized it. Undefeated teams in the list, 11-1 teams in the list, 10-2 teams in the list, 9-3 teams in the list. And I got to the point where I had no 9-3 teams make it because my whole entire list is 10-2 or better. So my list consists of Clemson at 11-1, Georgia at 12-0, K-State at 11-1, Ohio State at 11-1, Notre Dame 11-1, Penn State 11-1, Oregon 11-1, Texas Tech 11-1. I do have Liberty getting in. They would be the 12 seed for sure for me, but I have them going 12-0. It's hard to make a case for a team that goes 12-0 and wins the games that's on their schedule. They can't help their schedule. They play the games on the schedule. Texas 10-2, LSU 10-2, Alabama 10-2. Like I said, no particular order, but those are all my teams. I have no 3-loss teams in the playoffs. It is 10 losses or better for me this season. And as you see there, a couple Big 12 schools. Thinking out loud real quick without going back there, I think I just have 1 ACC school, and then I have 3, if I recall correctly, after reading that list, Big 10 and 4 SEC, and then Liberty in the G5. So our lists are all pretty similar, fellas. You see a lot of the same names, right? You see Clemson, you see Georgia, you see Penn State, you see Ohio State, Notre Dame, Oregon for most of us. So you see a lot of the same teams. I would say really where this could shake out as the playoff comes about is probably on like that 8-12 seeding is where we would probably have a little bit of things change, especially with you guys having the Navy route. I don't hate the Navy route at all. I love what you guys are doing there. Would be really interesting to see how that playoff committee goes about whenever Navy plays that Army-Navy game. I think after the selection show for the playoffs, if we recall correctly, I think that's how that shakes out. So that would be awesome just to see the playoff committee in a panic, to be honest with you. So anything you guys want to add on the list real quick, and then we'll go ahead and get us out of here.
I got one thing.
Go ahead.
So all 3 have Oregon in there. How close? Because I was so close to putting Washington instead of Oregon.
Yeah.
Were you guys even questioning that at all? Because we talked about their quarterback situation. They're also relying on the true freshman receiver to step up and be their number 1 option.
Yep.
It's not insane to think they're just not going to do it. And if that's the case, I want Washington in there over some of my other schools.
So going back and like I said, I followed all of my notes on this, and that's how I got to Oregon, because I had Oregon at 11-1. This show, as everybody has followed us, we are extremely high on the Washington Huskies this season. And the problem for me was knowing as I had them at 10-2. That was the reason I couldn't do it. I had Oregon at 11-1. I could not do it, even though I had them beating Oregon. So it would have been a head-to-head win over an Oregon team that got in the playoffs. But I have them at 10-2. So I just couldn't do it. But if Oregon kind of collapses, yeah, Washington was next in line for me out of the Big Ten to make the playoffs at 10-2.
Yeah,
I don't even know if it would take a collapse. I think it takes one game. I wouldn't call it a collapse. Maybe
it takes 9-3. It takes 9-3 from Oregon, or maybe even 10-2 with a head-to-head win from Washington over Oregon for Washington to be in there.
The only thing that kept me from putting Washington in, their number one receiver, Boston, he has not been full go at practice lately. Apparently, the plan is he is supposed to be full go this coming week. Towards the end of this week and into next week, he's supposed to be full go, full practice, full pad, full everything. If he would be practicing right now and I'd hear some real good news, real good reports out of Washington, I'm going to let you know now. I'm picking Washington over Oregon.
That don't scare me. I think he's fine, right? I think they're just taking precautions when they should. You kind of come out of the gate at Colorado State, UC Davis, Washington State. If he's got to rest, that's time to rest, because then you play Ohio State. Then it's time to get it going. And I think they could bang with Ohio State and Oregon. And we've mentioned before, why are we scared of Michigan if I'm Washington? I'm not. So
no,
I like it. Anything else?
I'm right there with you guys, though. I had Washington on the cusp. I just went kind of with our notes and what we discussed in the past month and a half and just rolled with what we talked about.
That's right. I mean, I had to stay true, right? We did all this for a reason. We did all these win totals before the playoffs for a reason, right? And I tried to find a way to get Washington in there. I really, really did.
Mm-hmm.
I had to stay true to what we've done. So that's why. And a lot of these other shows and news outlets for college football and accounts and websites, they don't stay true to what they do. You listen to them on Monday and they'll pick Oregon. You listen to them on Tuesday and they got Ohio State. So that's where I like what we do here, is we stay very true to everything that we've done throughout the whole entire offseason to get to this point. Fellas, anything else?
No, sir. All good.
We covered a lot this episode. Thanks everybody that commented, participated. Make sure you're liking before you get out of here. Make sure you're subscribing before you get out of here. Make sure you're turning your alerts on before you get out of here. Make sure you're doing all those things to help us out. And tell your friends, tell your family. It is college football season. We're banging the table. We are all the way back. We made it. We are here. Next week, we are going to turn to 2 episodes per week moving forward. We got to sit down and talk and have conversations if we're going to go the Sunday, Monday route, the Wednesday, Thursday route. Obviously, going live, we will be competing with, Monday night football, Sunday night football, Thursday night football. So we understand that we might lose a little bit of the live viewership. As long as you guys are going back and watching the recordings down the road, we appreciate all of you guys coming in and doing those things for us. So beginning of next week, going to have a probably pretty brief, short episode, and it's going to be strictly on what coaches are under the most pressure, under the biggest microscope moving in to the 2025 season. Be probably a short episode. And then Wednesday or Thursday of next week, it is go time. It is putting out bets. It is previewing games for the weekend. And we are all the way back. Bryant, Nolan, you guys good? We ready to go?
Excited for week 0 to start talking about some real games.
Oh, yeah. Hey, this is fantastic. Hey, like Josh said, thanks, Josh. Remind the people. Turn on notifications so you don't miss any live shows. We are busting ass out here for you guys, bringing you all the comment. Thank you, Leon. Looking forward to a full season with you guys as well. That's Bryant. That's Nolan. I'm Colin. You can follow us on X at DT_sports_. YouTube, Deep Threat Sports. Apple, Deep Threat Sports. Spotify, Deep Threat Sports. Facebook, Deep Threat Sports Network. Until next time, gentlemen, peace.